Hello, hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to wait and see if anybody else pops in before I start giving my news. If you're watching the replay, thanks for tuning in. If you're not part of the hermit crab world, this probably won't be very exciting to you, but it's pretty exciting to me. You're so curious. So I got this in my email today. Some months ago, I found a photo that I believed to be Coenobita rubescens, and was pretty excited because Coenobita rubescens is one of those species that we know almost nothing about. I'm going to switch over to the website. So this is my website, and you'll see I've got what I think is a rubescens up there also. The species was officially accepted into the World Register, so it is an accepted species. But some people still say it's not its own species because there's no more information about this species beyond this article here by Grief, which I have, but it had to be translated into English, and while it's here on the site, it's hard to make sense of because the translation is not great. I have the original copy. If I knew somebody who could translate it for me more accurately, I would do so, but I don't. So just based on this one article, the rubescens is also in the Biology of Land Crabs, which I own that book. And here in the book, he talks about the species. You can see it here. Found in West Africa on the islands of Sao Tome, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, and Rolos. Credited to Rathburn in 1900, appears to be the only species recorded for West Africa. Records there of Coenobita rugosus actually refer to this species instead. So any references from the past that were made to rugosus in West Africa are actually most likely rubescens. So I found one photo and reached out to the photographer and asked for permission to use it. He granted me permission to use it, and then he told me, well, I happen to be going back to West Africa in just a month or so, and I will pay a little more attention to the hermit crabs there. And so earlier today, I was looking for pictures again, and I was wondering, gosh, I wonder if he found anything. And then right as I left work, I got the email with this photo in it. Now, it is possible that rubescens could be a juvenile, maybe a spinosus, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Spinosus isn't found in this region, but there's not much known on spinosus either, so it's hard. The book that I have is called, this is an expensive book if you want to buy it. I plan to spend at least $100. Biology of the Land Crabs by Warren Berggren and Brian McMahon. There's not a ton in the book on Coenobita, but it talks about just land crabs in general, and there is some Coenobita. So the photographer made it sound like potentially he has more photos than this one. I don't know. I haven't responded back to him, but I'm just really excited to have one more photo. I don't feel like, from what I can see here, this little guy, he doesn't look to be juvenile Cavipes to me at all. I mean, he's very red, very hairy, and his eyes are more elongated than what you see on Cavipes. So I don't think he's being confused with Cavipes, but I could be wrong. I'm over the moon. Part of me is afraid to email him back because if he has more pictures, I'm gonna pass out from excitement. I don't know. He asked me some more identifying attributes to the crab, which I can't really provide. I really can only, he is hairy, but he could have just molted. I kind of have to work backwards and say, well, it's not this species because of XYZ, and it's not this species because of XYZ. There are hardly any photos from this region. This is off the coast of Nigeria where there are pirates. There's no tourism trade there. The people that live there aren't out photographing hermit crabs. If they're looking for hermit crabs, it's probably to eat them. So it's just so impossible to get photos out of this region. And the fact that a photographer was headed there and did this for me just kind of put me over the moon. I'm still trying to coordinate another photographer, maybe in the area, that could do some repeat photos for me, but that is not panning out. That has been very slow going. Today, I think I found... No, he's a photographer, a professional photographer, and I think that he photographs... Sure, Pam. It's also, if you just go to Coenobita and go to the rubescens page, it's on there under the references. But he's a Nat Geo photographer, so I don't think he would approve of smuggling hermit crabs back to the States. I don't even know if he's a U.S. He might be British. I'm not entirely sure. And the other person that I have a photo from, he was more than happy to let me use his photo. But this little guy is just so teeny that it's hard to tell. But his coloring appears to be the same. There doesn't appear to be any kind of stitch marks on the claw. There doesn't appear to be any weird shading on the claw. The leg is kind of armored the way rugosus and several other species is, so it's not round. Yeah, he's in a D-shaped shell, but you know the other thing about carnicens is they've been seen wearing the exoskeleton of a sea urchin as, been noted to wear a sea urchin as their shell. So I haven't seen one of those yet. This is a picture that I think might be, but it's from Fiji, so it seems unlikely. So I think that I have this one miscategorized. I need to go back and probably take that one off. But he initially kind of looked like a similar crab, but it almost looks like a rugosus. I'm not entirely sure. So, yeah, so pretty big news to have the photographer get back to me and at least have one new photo. See this little guy too. See how red he is? And this is from the same region. And I don't feel his eyes are sort of a mix between, yeah, they are pretty. Sort of a mix between the Clypetus and an elongated eye. But they're definitely a little bit oblong. I can't tell enough, on the shield to say for sure. But I'll have more photos now to compare to and try to work from. And I'm still continuing to try to reach out and find somebody else in the region who could do some photography for me of some of the local hermit crabs. So that's my big news. I got a new picture of what could be Coenobita rubescens in my email today. And I did find a couple more that I think are spinosus, and I just have to, I've made contact with those photographers to try to get permission. So all of the pictures, this picture just came to me today. I don't know if it will be put on the website or not. I have to get permission from the photographer, and then I have to decide if he's going to provide me with these photos, if I'm going to put them up. Because what happens is I spend months doing the research and the legwork, and then other hermit crab communities just come along and steal all my hard work and my photos. They don't give any credit. They don't ask if they can piggyback off of my work, and then they just start posting it as if they all had done this. I think we nested the rubescens in with one of the other species because these crabs are only in Equatorial Guinea, off the coast of Nigeria. So, well, even if I watermark them, I can't put my watermark on the professional photographer's photo. He can put his watermark on it, but that doesn't stop other people from just stealing it anyway and using it. It happens all the time. I went through a lot of effort to track this guy down, and contact him and make this connection. And I hate to just like drop this into somebody else's lap and then they just take all the credit for it and steal his photo on top of it. So I'm still struggling with how I'm going to deal with that. So the photos I do have, you can find on Coenobita Species, which is also my website. And I have all the species listed there. And the couple of photos that I have that I believe to be rubescens are already on the site. And the information that I have about them, which is very limited to just this one researcher. There's no new research being done on this species. I can't find any new people researching this species. Like I said, it's just not a great place. It's not easy to get to, and because of the pirates and stuff going on there, it's not like there's tourism, so I'm not finding any just regular Joe photos sitting out there. So I just have so many limited leads, but I'm pursuing them constantly. This is Spinosus, and some pictures that I believe are... Some of these have to be Spinosus because they're from Fiji. That one's from the Pitcairn Islands. And I don't think... Like, these guys are super big and hairy. That one is... I've decided these are not Spinosus. I gotta take those down. While there's some similarities between that crab and this guy, they're physically not that close to each other, like where they're found. So I don't think that this is a juvenile Spinosus. And this is the only crab in that region of Nigeria, apparently. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, they're hairy little boogers. This one is super cute. Yeah, that was my big news. So I have to sit down and compose an email back to the photographer and see if he has additional photos that I can look at, hopefully from the side so I can see the eye stalk and more of the big pincher and the legs. But it's pretty nice way to end the week, especially after my tank shattered, which I'm still trying to figure out. Anybody have any species questions while we're on here chatting about hermit crab stuff? I'm still working on... I found some more photos of Scaevola today also. So I have to track down those photographers also and try to get permission to use those. And they're just so adorable too. That's okay. No worries. There's the little guys I have so far for Scaevola. So if anybody has any suggestions, yeah, I haven't gotten all the way through the book, but I'm using it for the article that I'm trying to write on respiration. I think that's where I got mine. Because I want to write more about the fact that land crabs basically have 3 different mechanisms for breathing. Between the branchial lungs, breathing air, bringing the water in and separating out, absorbing the oxygen from the water through their gills. And then Coenobita is the only land crab species that has an abdominal lung also, in which they also absorb oxygen from their shell water. So they have three different means of breathing, and that has me wondering about people being concerned about crabs suffocating underground if their burrow collapses, because they can absorb water from the substrate. These hairs you see are not really hairs. They're extensions of the exoskeleton, and the hairs on the claws can be used to wick moisture from the substrate around them and then bring it up to their mouth, and it passes through the bronchial chamber, through the gills, and they can extract oxygen that way. So if they are, aren't they? If they have other methods of breathing, and even with the shell water,
could they truly suffocate underground if their burrow collapses? If they were too weak to dig out, I definitely can see that after a bit of time, they definitely could die down there. But when we talk about suffocating, that's usually from a lack of oxygen, an inability to breathe. They can breathe air, and then they can breathe the humid air, and then just directly from the water, they can absorb oxygen. So I'm trying to sort that all out to see if that's a reasonable conclusion, especially with the abdominal lung, which nobody really seems to talk about except me. I'm obsessed with the abdominal lung. I have photos and documentation that I wish I could. They're high-res, like, images of what the abdominal lung looks like, and I can't make heads or tails of it because it's through a microscope. But I wish I could. Okay, guys, that was my big reveal. This little guy here, Coenobita rubescens, coming soon. Yeah, a lot of people don't. But again, that's research that I have, that I dug for, and that I haven't seen anywhere else. I haven't seen anybody else talking about it. I haven't seen anybody else's documentation. That'll be another one of those things once I finish the article and post more about the abdominal lung, that'll start making its rounds, and it'll be lifted from me as well. Okay, see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in and sharing my news. I'm a little calmer after a 40-minute commute, but I'm still pretty excited, and my little brain is churning away about emailing him back. It's like Christmas. I'll see you guys back on the website. Pam, if you need any information about that book, but it sounds like you've got it nailed down, let me know. And happy crabbing, guys. Talk to you later. Thanks for the hearts.